25-mile undersea tunnel linking Scotland and Northern Ireland could get the green light next month. The new connection, informally known as Boris's Borough, it's awful, could help ease Brexit tensions over trade and boost the UK economy by making it easier for transportation of goods. Boris Johnson first backed the idea of connecting Larne in Northern Ireland to Stranraer in Scotland with a bridge when he was Foreign Secretary back in 2018. But now ministers are said to be considering a 25-mile long tunnel with a road and rail link instead of a bridge. In a moment, Simon Hoare, the Conservative MP, who's also chairman of the Northern Ireland Select Committee, but he's speaking in a personal capacity on this interview. Sammy Wilson, first of all, DUP MP and Brexit spokesperson for the DUP. Sammy, good afternoon to you. What's not to like? A big old tunnel linking the two countries.
Yes, can I just correct you that, first of all, the tunnel will not do away with the impositions which there are in Northern Ireland as far as the protocol is concerned. But what it will do is, first of all, it will establish a physical link over one of the most costly crossing parts in the world. Ferries across the North Channel from Larne to Stranraer are the most expensive, certainly in Europe.
Wow.
And impede trade between Northern Ireland and are sometimes disrupted because of bad weather. A tunnel would ensure that we had that physical link. It was working 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and would, I think, be an indication that when the government talks about projects which will cement the United Kingdom together, then that would be some evidence that they really meant what they said.
One of the things that first sprang to mind when I was thinking this, Sammy, and we all remember the Channel Tunnel being built, was that it takes about 500 years and costs about 10 trillion quid per metre. Isn't that one of the troubles, the cost and the length of time?
Well, of course, the length of time actually wouldn't be as bad simply because of the way in which it is envisaged this might be constructed. I've actually spoken to some engineers from one of the universities that haven't published yet, but they intend to publish how this can be done relatively quickly and much more cheaply than a traditional tunnel or a bridge. It would require a significant amount of money, you're quite right. But if we're going to have this levelling up agenda across the United Kingdom, Northern Ireland has always suffered because geographically we're on the periphery of the United Kingdom. This will be one way of exercising that levelling up agenda. And so from that point of view, a physical link would be good. But of course, the important thing for people in Northern Ireland at the moment is having that economic and constitutional integration which has been damaged by the Northern Ireland Protocol, and that's a totally separate issue which would need to be addressed.
Yeah, I was going to say on that point though, Sammy Wilson, how separate is it? Is this fundamental perhaps to the DUP's interest in this, that it keeps a connection going, not just on a piece of paper which can be torn up at a later date, but it keeps a firm, tangible connection, quite literally, between Northern Ireland and the rest of the United Kingdom?
Well, it would be an indication, of course, of a commitment by the government in that linking of the union together through physical infrastructure. It would be an indication that the government actually, when it talks about Northern Ireland being part of the United Kingdom, is prepared to show that it actually means that in a physical way. But it would be meaningless, I've got to say, if at the same time that tunnel became just another part of the infrastructure of the border between Northern Ireland and the rest of the United Kingdom. And the most immediate problem for us is not building a tunnel. The most immediate problem for us is replacing the protocol.
Sure. In terms of support, what sort of support does this initiative have? I mean, the DUP, you think there's a green light for this? What about other parties in Northern Ireland?
Well, I mean, other parties will have different views. Some of the nationalist parties will say that if you're going to spend money, spend it on other things in Northern Ireland rather than a tunnel. The symbolism, of course, of this for unionism is quite important. But I think that if you look at the needs of businesses in Northern Ireland and the ways in which businesses would benefit, then take the politics out of this, it actually would be a huge piece of infrastructure to link Northern Ireland businesses to our main market in GB. Because don't forget, 60% of what we produce goes to GB, and currently that is disrupted by sometimes the weather stopping ferries, etc., and also by the expense of transport from Northern Ireland to GB and vice versa at the minute.
Sammy, thank you. Sammy Wilson, DUP MP, of course. He's their Brexit spokesman too, with us here on talkRADIO. Let's speak to Simon Hoare, Conservative MP and Chairman of the Northern Ireland Select Committee. Although, Simon, I know you're speaking in a capacity as a Conservative MP here and not as the Chairman of that committee. I mean, you heard what Sammy Wilson said there. I mean, this seems like a very ambitious project, but what's not to like?
Well, I think there's other things that could be done to improve transport infrastructure within Northern Ireland. I think this tunnel proposal has been talked of before and has come to nothing. It seemed to be posited yesterday as the answer to ongoing concerns / questions about the operation of the Northern Ireland Protocol. And there's no way a tunnel could be delivered in the time frame envisaged to try and address that. And of course, it still doesn't address the regulatory problems which some people are experiencing. So I don't think it has the immediacy which is required. You asked Sammy earlier about the cost. Well, whatever the cost is going to be, you can add 10 years and a couple of noughts, I would have thought, to the end of it. You need only look at HS2.
That seems to be the standard fare, isn't it? How does that work with big infrastructure projects? Why don't they add those noughts and years to it at the beginning? Then we'd all know where we were.
Well, the cynic in me says that if they did, no contract would ever be left.
That's very true.
Because no chancellor would ever sign it off. Often these projects can get past the point of no return, can't they? And you can't row back.
Yeah.
As I say, I think there are other things that can be done which could easily improve transport infrastructure within Northern Ireland. We could be working on getting more international flights into Belfast. We could be, if there's spare money, we could be looking to eradicate airport passenger duty. We could be improving rail links between Belfast and Dublin. There's a lot of things that could be done to improve existing infrastructure without now trying to build a tunnel in very deep water, in incredibly deep water in places, and surrounded by quite a lot of dumped munitions over the years.
I mean, in terms of the symbolism of this, Simon, I mean, Sammy Wilson didn't shy away from the fact that there is perhaps something incredibly symbolic of retaining a connection, and what better way to retain that connection than a physical one in the form of a tunnel or a bridge?
I don't buy that, I'm afraid. It's the island of Ireland. Northern Ireland celebrates its centenary this year. It has managed to do that, to survive all sorts of things thrown at it over 100 years without a bridge. I don't think we need any more symbolism. We actually need some sort of concrete stuff and some progress. Symbolism really butters no parsnips, does it?
Simon, thank you. Simon Hoare, Conservative MP, with us here on talkRADIO in response to what's being called Boris's Borough. It's a rubbish name, isn't it? If you're going to... the press, the tabloids, love to think of a kind of snappy, there was Boris Island and Boris's Bridge and Boris's Bikes and all the rest of it. And they couldn't think of one for the tunnel. I could think of a few, but maybe not broadcastable, I don't know. Boris's Borough doesn't work either. It's a tunnel, not a borough. I mean, come on. Nonetheless, will this see the light of day? I've got a funny feeling it probably won't in any of our lifetimes. Maybe in 100 years' time somebody will build a big old bridge, but by then we'll be flying in little AirPods, in our own little pods around the place. So we'll be going from A to B very, very easily. And Brexit will just be a bad dream because the world will be run by China. They'll be running everything, and so we'll just be really at the behest of whatever the chairman of China says. And then we'll get in our pods and off we'll go. We'll take our little tablet every day, as Aldous Huxley told us, and we'll just love life. Everything will be fine.